Let's join Andrew hunting for his next meal with local forager Ryan Horn and Uptown 21's chef Nick Benninger.
Well, welcome to the wild. We're taking you on a bit of a foraging trek here on Grand River Living. We've gone out into the bush with a forager, and his name is Ryan Horn. And we're going to learn a little bit about what you can find in your backyard and in and around Waterloo region. And then we've also brought a couple of cooks, people that will use these ingredients that come right out of the wild. We've got Nick Benninger from Taco Farm and Uptown 21 in Uptown Waterloo. Of course, along with him is Emily Schleeper, one of the cooks at the restaurants. Ryan, what is foraging? Describe to us what the process is. I think people have sort of a vague reference to what it is, but how do you define it? What are you doing?
Usually just going out, taking a walk in the woods and looking for specific edibles. So today we're going to be looking for some mushrooms and some greens.
Stuff like this. What is this?
This is chaga, it's called. It's a fungus that grows on birch trees, and a lot of people make tea out of it and use it as a medicinal tonic.
And you work with restaurants locally, you provide them with ingredients. How does that work? What's that relationship like?
Well, I go out in the woods and hopefully find something that's useful or sought after by a chef like Nick here. Right now it's great. Mushrooms are popular with chefs, and morels are up right now.
And you're sure you're giving them the safe ones, right?
110%, yeah. There's a lot of mushrooms out there, and a lot of them are edible. I generally work with about 10 different species of mushrooms, and Nick's always happy to take those off my hands.
You make tea out of this?
Sure do. Yeah.
Tea?
Well, from this to tea isn't as far a stretch as you might think. Grind it up, boil it, and drink it as a tea. We brought some along today just to sample it. Tastes like a weak coffee or just an inoffensive.
We'll let Emily have a little slug. Tell us what she thinks. Okay, that's great. So we'll take a little trip, and we'll see through the journey in the forest what forager Horn can come up with, and how Chef Benninger and Schleeper will use it in the restaurant. Okay, so Ryan, we're going to let you lead the way. What are we looking for? I guess you should tell us what to look for. We're going to try to see if we can find some morel mushrooms.
Right. So we're looking for blonde morels today, yellow morels. They've got like a honeycomb top and a white stalk, and they blend in perfectly with everything that's on the ground right now. So a sharp eye, and watch where you're walking.
And of course, Chef Benninger, you're really pretty interested in getting your hands on some of these babies too.
Yeah, for sure. I got a frying pan on the ready.
All right, let's go. Take a look.
All right, Nick, we got some mushrooms. What do you do with them?
Well, first we're going to find some more, so we actually got a feed on. But today I'm just going to fry them up with some bacon. With stuff like this, I like to keep it as simple as possible because it's just such an awesome ingredient to begin with. There's not much we need to do. A little salt will go a long way.
They're not even dirty. I don't think they even need to be really rinsed or anything, do they?
No, these likely came up in the last 2 days. It hasn't rained. There hasn't been a whole lot of bugs out. Sometimes you'll find them, there's slugs and bugs have been at them, but these are fresh in the last couple of days.
These are beautiful, eh, Chef?
Yeah. We'll usually cut the stem off and make sure there's nothing living inside of them, as there is sometimes. And then from there, if you're comfortable with a tiny bit of grit, I just eat them right up. Getting them wet tends to be a bit of an issue. It's tough to get them dry again.
So we spent a few hours, shall we say, out in the woods here, and we've been very, very lucky. Ryan, tell us what we've found. It's a nice little harvest.
It's great, perfect little lunch for us. We've got some fresh morels, which is the key ingredient we were after today. We've got some ramp tops. Season's just kind of finishing up, but these are nice, fresh, still really green. And some dryad saddle or pheasant back mushrooms, common right from May till October.
What are you going to put together with these great ingredients?
These great ingredients, that's all. We foraged some bacon up there on the hill. So once I render that fat out, we're pretty much good to cook anything.
So I'm going to throw it over to these two guys, and they'll put together a little bit of a lunch for us. Take it away, guys.
Well, Ryan brought a camping stove thoughtfully. We got a frying pan, a little bacon. Like I said, there's not much we need to do after that. This is a beautiful homemade bacon that we stole from Taco Farm. We tried to steal one of their chefs too, but I think he's a little hungover this morning. So yeah, once we crisp this up a little bit, that's probably about all I need. I think I'll start off with these guys. These guys are...
Now, you've cooked with these before.
Yeah, Ryan brings us these to the restaurant. They have a definite texture to them. They don't get nearly as tender as other mushrooms. But texture's a good thing, right? So it'll give us some nice chew in there. So bacon's making everything look pretty awesome already. But that is not why we're here. So we've got our mushrooms going. Like I said, I just want to render a little bit of their texture down a bit. Like we said earlier, these things can be quite the habitat for woodland creatures with more than 4 legs.
So you're slicing them down their length.
Yeah, because you'll often find a slug or what have you in there, and we don't want to.
These like other mushrooms, do they have the same sort of absorptive qualities, or?
Yeah, the thing about these though is, yeah, they're gonna let out their moisture quite a bit. They are gonna take up a lot of flavor, but we don't really want to take up too much flavor because the morel is awesome, right? Sometimes you want to braise mushrooms and do things to them that enhance them. I don't really want to take away from what we've got here. We won't crowd it much more than that, right? One thing I find with mushrooms is their water content is so high that it's going to let out quite a bit, and if we overcrowd the pan, we'll end up with a soup. But I want to put some brown on these guys. So I wouldn't crowd the pan much more than this. We're getting some pretty good action. This must smell good out there. And then the last thing I'll add is the ramps, but I definitely want to wait a second until I've got a dry pan again, so to speak, like the liquid from the mushrooms. Oh man, that smells good. We brought forks because we're not animals. There is an extra fork there. Someone can attract a friend. So now I'll add my ramp tops. And these are just, I mean, take garlic and onion and...
A little bit of leek flavor?
Yeah, mix that flavor together. It's just amazing. It's probably my favorite vegetable in the world. I don't know if it's the romance behind going out to find it and the season is so short, but the taste you get off these things is just incredible. So yeah, we're ready to eat, I think. Want to give her a try?
Thank you.
Chef, you try.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The morels, the texture is just so forgiving.
This is what food should be.
Yeah.
Natural, pure ingredients right out of the ground, cooked right away.
Get outside and fry some mushrooms.
It's getting hot out here in the forest. We want to thank Emily Schleeper and Nick Benninger from Uptown 21 and Taco Farm, and as well Ryan Horn, local forager, for showing us the ropes on the mushrooms, ramps, and a whole bunch of great stuff you can find out in the wild. And it's just a good example of the harmony that exists between local cooks and foragers, restaurateurs, bringing the local ingredients that are right here, hyper-local, I guess we'd say, Nick?
Yeah,
that's right. Don't get closer to that. And we want to thank them for taking the time out today to show us a little bit about foraging in Waterloo Region.
85% of the region's water comes from groundwater. Earlier this week, Trish was at the Waterloo Region Museum for the Children's Groundwater Festival. My daughter actually attended with her school and had so much fun she didn't even realize she was learning. So stay tuned and see how you can find out more about local water conservation.